Hey, Katie.
Hey, Teresa.
I don't
We've
know
only
what
been at this for 15 minutes to try to have some technical difficulties figured out.
my microphone wasn't working, but I got it. I was
Your
like, this
microphone
can't be
wasn't
the
working?
episode that it craps out
Nope.
because we have a lot to discuss. Like, okay, if you're watching this on YouTube or if I show this clip, look at all these tabs. Do you hear? Listen to those beautiful tabs.
Flapping in the
I
wind.
have a lot of thoughts, obviously. I mean, some of these are just like things that I thought were cute in the plot.
I didn't tab
Katie
very
has like
much.
10. I have a lot. I
You
have,
sometimes over tab.
well, you know what? You think it's an over tab because you don't understand the system.
Okay.
This is what a genius's tabs look like.
You read it. I did a hybrid.
You did do a hybrid.
But I will say I tried. I think I didn't tab a shit ton this one because I didn't want. Okay, look, wait, hold on. Before I say that sentence, read me your tab and what they mean.
Okay, so I hope that's not too loud. Okay, so orange is just anytime I liked anything that Cassian was saying specifically. Pink is sexy stuff that I liked. Because like
Okay.
I don't, it doesn't have to be like every sex scene, like, but like the hold on to the headboard, that needs a tab. Dark green is Nesta being cunty. Light green is Nesta being less cunty,
Okay.
aka Nesta just being a normal person.
Mm-hmm.
Blue is miscellaneous plot stuff, so just like
Okay.
other things that I liked. Purple is things that I think are foreshadowing for future books.
Okay.
And then there is like a light beige, which is like recent favorite moments that I liked.
That's nice. See, I didn't do all that. I only did like a burnt orange as Cassian being an angel. I have gray being Nesta being a cunt. I scratched out cunt and then wrote cranky bitch.
Okay.
My
Yeah.
green is like plot and theory points. There is one quote that I used one color with, but I had to do it. It was a light green and it was Elaine moments, aka like growth for Elaine,
Yeah.
because she comes out with like a spine for 7 seconds. And then my mauve, I guess we can call that, is Nesta maturing.
Yes. Which
So
only happens in like the last like 1/3 of the book.
correct. But I figured let me not go crazy. But that's just the way my brain was operating at the time.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm sure the people appreciate it. Obviously, this is so. I read ACOTAR May of 2021. Yeah, including Silver Flames.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, like you, I have re-listened to the ACOTAR audio. I've reread the books. Like as far as like the first 3 books go, this is my first official reread, listen, anything of Silver Flames. I've only ever read it one time. I've never listened to the audio. I've never picked up this book since I read it the first time.
Same.
Because I just like don't. Okay. I do not dislike. I don't hate Nesta. I think like that's a thing that we always say. Like we don't like her, but we don't hate her.
I don't hate her.
And I understand why people like her.
I will say to
I
preface
just
what you're saying is
don't
like
relate to her at all.
same. But I
Which
do
makes it
think
hard.
makes it hard, but I think book talk and then forging relationships with other people who happen to like Nesta and hearing what they have to say has opened both of our eyes a bit more, if you will.
Yeah.
To giving this another go, going in with an open mind and seeing if we changed our perspectives. Because you're right, and from the get-go, we've never hated her. We just didn't like her.
Right. Like I just, as a character, I don't relate to her at all. Like the way that she deals with her trauma, the way that she like treats the people that she loves, like are so far out of my comprehension.
Agreed.
That I need to feel like I think, especially in like these kinds of books, like relate to the female main character in some way. So even though like I understood her, but like I would just never act this way. So like it's hard for like listen, everybody has been in like a bad mood and been like to somebody that they love, like, get the fuck away from me. But like to treat the people who care the most about you in such horrific fashion for over a year, I like that's like where like I struggle. But again, if this was somebody that I loved, I would never like turn my back on them. So I understood like where Feyre and Cassian and everybody was coming from wanting to help her. I'm just as a character, she just still like, even though like at the end I'm like, okay, she just still doesn't do it for me.
Same.
Yeah.
I will say, like, because we spoke about it when we were both reading it a few weeks ago, and you pointed out a good point too. You're right. You're not going to like, if this was my sister or my husband treating me like this, I'm not going to like just give up on them. But we as readers get protective of characters. And because we're not like the people in the books, I get like, why the fuck are you treating that person like that? Like, how the fuck are you dealing with this bitch? But like, you're right. You say it like that, you're absolutely correct. I'm never gonna let, if that was a better equation, if this was my sister treating me like this, I'm not gonna like just leave my sister in the dust.
No.
But, and I know, I mean, for me personally, I take all my anger and shit, like when I'm in a bad mood, it goes to my husband. I feel like that's a kind of like a natural reaction. Like, if, at least for most people, I'd say like your significant other like, takes on the burden of your mood sometimes. But I'm never cruel to him.
Right, well, that's the thing.
And I would like, do you know who I am? Like, yes. Do I not text you at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm like, oh my God, the way I said this to you. Are you mad?
She's intentionally cruel to people
as
who care about her as a defense mechanism, because she thinks, one, that she doesn't deserve their love, so she wants to push them away. And two, she doesn't want to be close to them because she feels like everybody who's close to her, she's hurt. Like, she knows she's hurting them, so she wants to push them away because she's hurting them. But then she's hurting them because she wants to push them away because she thinks she doesn't deserve them.
Yeah, it all boils down to like what she thinks she deserves and doesn't deserve. And she thinks she doesn't deserve any type of happiness.
Right. And like, again, back to your original point. So like, if my brother was going through some trauma and was treating me poorly, I would never turn my back on him. I would try to be there to support him and, you know, love him through like whatever was going on. But in recent, like in Reese's defense, if like Gil's brother, my husband's brother, was treating him as poorly as Nesta was treating Feyre, I would have a problem with him.
Agreed.
And like, I don't think, and again too, I think that the whole like Nesta, Reese, Feyre, like conversation that's had on TikTok a lot is like people who like love Feyre want to defend her. People who love Nesta want to defend her. So by defend, like a lot of times I see these videos like where they're defending Nesta by putting like Feyre and Reese down, or like they're defending Feyre by like putting Nesta down. And I think that's
that needs to happen.
Right. That doesn't need to happen. Like, you can like the character, like you can love Nesta and be like, but Feyre was the most supportive person, like other than Cassian, of course, but like Feyre never turned her back on her. Feyre was there to support her, to help her, like constantly was like, you know, Amber says, keep reaching out your hand. Like Feyre was doing all that, like giving her the space that she needed, trying to support her, like by like at first, you know, backing off and like trying to let her figure it out on her own. Then by kind of forcing her hand and making her move into the House of Wind, which I know people were like, oh, they forced. Of course they did.
I would too. If someone was just spending my mate,
it's not even like the fact that like she was like spending their money. She was
self-deprecating.
Like she was,
spiraling.
Like she was spiraling.
She's treating herself like shit.
I mean, like I wouldn't say she was an alcoholic because she wasn't, but it's almost like the equivalent. Like, if you see someone you love, like, going down a dark path, or maybe, like, they're using drugs and alcohol and stuff to, like, self-medicate, forcing them into, like, a rehab, if you have the means to do so, isn't being mean to them. It's, like, you love them and you want to get them help.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know an addict, you know that, like, you know, they can check out at any time if they want to, and that they have to want to get the help themselves in order for it to work, of course.
And same thing with Nesta. Like, even though she's at the House of Wind, she can leave if she wants to go down those stairs.
Right.
But she still has to help herself.
And she's not trapped there. Place. Like, anytime that she asks to leave, they let her leave.
Exactly.
They just don't want her to be able to spend their money and go to the bars and self-medicate with alcohol and men. Because, again, if she was, like, feeling her best and, like, that's what she was doing and she was just, like, a girl out on the town having fun, no one would say shit. She was like doing
Bryce.
it.
Bryce went out on the town party and no one says anything about it because she was mentally, like,
right.
Okay.
Right. So I think, like, that's where there's, like, a huge difference. And I think that, like, yeah, of course, Reese and Nesta butt heads a lot. But at the end, Nesta even says, like, that's my brother. Like, we're not always going to see eye to eye, but he is family. And, like, I did disrespect him in his home. I disrespected his wife in front of him. Like, you have to understand, too, obviously this is a fantasy book. Like, the way that she was treating Feyre as his mate, and we know he's, like, the most powerful High Lord of all time, he's going to have a reaction. I mean, he never, like, laid his hands on her, even when they were, like, you know, talking about sending her to find the mask and the harp and, like, all that. He even said, he's like, you don't have to. It's your decision. Like, and that was Reese's thing in the first 3 books with Feyre. Like, I mean, he's a little manipulative, but that's his whole, like...
That's his whole MO.
That's his whole morally gray, like... Yeah. Whatever. But even when, like, when Nesta goes and, like, tells Feyre that, the baby's basically going to kill her if she, like, you know, when she has the baby, she did it out of spite. She wasn't like, you know, everyone's keeping the secret from my sister. I just want her to know. She did it to spite her.
And she
Feyre.
says it.
Yes. Right. Yeah. Admittedly, she's like, and, like, she feels so bad after because she's like, I reacted. I did it to be spiteful, to, like, hurt everybody. And yes, did Feyre have a right to know? Of course. But I also understand, like, the need to protect her. And, like, she's pregnant. They're trying to find ways around what essentially will happen.
Well, and so, I think it also goes back to, like, the fact that if she dies, Reese dies. So... nobody knows this until close to the end when Reese finally admits it to Cassian and Azriel. But could you imagine that pressure that not only, like, is the person who's pregnant, okay, I'm gonna die, my child's gonna die, but then my mate dies? Like, everyone dies. Like, I don't want that pressure.
And Reese even says it to Cassian and Amber. He's like, I don't want her to be stressed out. Like, she's so excited and so happy about this. Like, until, like, we know for sure. Like, he was, like, they were still, like, trying to figure out ways to fix it. So, like, why stress her out? Like, I feel like if that was me, I wouldn't want to know.
Even now that I'm in the thick of a pregnancy, like, before, and again, I'm a planner. I need to know everything. I'm type A. If you asked me before being pregnant if I want to know exactly how my labor and delivery was going to be, I'd probably say yes. Now, don't fucking tell me. I don't want to know how bad I can rip or what happens, or is it, like, as long as, like, the baby's okay to me, I don't give a fuck what happens to me. Like, that's literally how I think right now.
And, like, her stressing would only, like,
hurt the kid.
Hurt the pregnancy, hurt the baby. I mean, she goes into labor early anyway, but possibly send her into early labor before they're able to find, like, a way to help her. I did forget, like, how, like, almost, like, traumatizing that whole birth scene is. And then, like, because, like, when Nesta, like, freezes time and, like, Reese is, like, screaming and, like, you could see, like, the darkness, like, billowing out of him, and, like, Cassian and Azriel, how, like, their siphons are, like, glowing. They're using all of their energy just to restrain him because he's, like, watching his, like, wife die and his, like, baby's
kid is
dying.
Essentially, like dead. Almost dead.
Yeah.
And then Feyre is literally, like, it's like Hercules where, like, they go to cut the cord.
Yes.
Like, it's like they're literally almost closing on that cord.
Yes.
Like, it is time.
Yes. And then, like, I mean, like, of course, like, the thing with, like, Nesta saving them at the end, that's just, like, I know, like, I want to say this the right way.
Yeah.
She does apologize to Feyre, like, she just says, like, sorry at, like, one point. And Feyre's like, I forgive you.
She doesn't even say it. She
no, she does. No, she does end up saying it.
Or does she? Because I was gonna say, there's one part where I literally think I wrote, like, okay, you mind thought this, and you're just lucky enough that your sister got to hear you.
She says it, like, in her mind at first, and then she says it like out loud, like
Okay.
a little bit later. Yeah, because at first I was like, is that it? Is that like the whole apology? But I mean, if it's good enough for Feyre, I guess it's good enough for
Absolutely. Yeah.
me. But
I just think, and again, I don't know if it speaks to the person, maybe your background, but I feel like if I saw someone, even if I didn't know who they were, about to die and I could do something, I'd want to be able to help.
right, like I kind of like hate how it's just like, oh, she saved her sister's life, so all's forgiven. But like, of course she should save her sister's life. And like, yes, like all should be forgiven, because I would forgive my brother in a heartbeat. Like,
Yes.
I would never expect like a whole drawn out apology, like if I knew he was going through something really bad. But
Agreed.
it like, but like,
And like, you
oh
move
well,
on. You leave the past
yeah.
in the past, and you just like
But
move
everyone's like,
on.
well, Nesta saved her. Like, of course she did. Like, did she get a
Yeah.
gold star for saving her sister's life because she had the power to?
Yeah.
No.
No.
She should save any. If a random woman on the street was dying and she had the power to save this woman, she should stop and save her.
Agreed. I have to agree with that.
Um,
Oh, did you hear that?
oh my, that was so. I feel like last time we recorded too, the train is just like chugging through. Jeez Louise.
Chugging through is right.
But yeah, I mean, again, that's all the things that I guess like bothered me about Nesta, but there are a lot of good things too. Like, I love her relationship with Emery and Gwen. Like, I love the little like Valkyrie like training, like them on like the roof training. I think it's like super cute.
I think so too, and I think it's great that she found her people. I just, again, you said this also, like you were taking a lot of the words that I was thinking. Like, she went after Feyre for finding like a new family, and then she got a new family, which again, I'm happy for her, because you know what? You need people that get you, support you, understand you, and you need people outside of your immediate family. Like, it's great to have your best friend sometimes as like your sister or your mom or whoever, but sometimes I think it's important to also have someone outside.
Well, it's the same thing with like a marriage, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
great if you like are best friends with your spouse, but like you also need other friends. Like, you also
someone
need other
else.
people.
And you don't need like 10 million people. Like, you need just good quality friends, and it could be one or two. It does not matter. But I think someone else to have in your corner is good. One thing I do want to point out that I'd be curious about in future books. So when she kind of goes over like what she changed for Feyre to be able to live, she rests a hand on her abdomen and says, I changed myself a little too. So none of us will have to go through this again. So, of course, Cassian's like, oh my God, are you ready for a kid? And she's like, no. She's like,
Yeah,
but I
she's like,
adjusted
fuck
myself to match what the cauldron did for Feyre for when the time is right. I'd be very curious if she did that for Elaine as well.
Yeah, it's like not really specified.
No.
And like that kind of is like, okay, so did she do it for Elaine? And then if she did, then like obviously I guess we're getting like an Asriel Elaine story. But because it's not specified, I'm almost
You
like
mean
she did.
Lucian and Elaine?
No, there's the whole Asriel. Asriel's upset in love with Elaine. See,
That's true.
okay,
That's true. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
Asriel. Yeah, Asriel's in
I
love
think
with
we're
Elaine.
just like, okay, mates.
I mean,
Asriel does love Elaine.
I love Lucian, and I want him to be happy, and like,
agreed.
And it, but I would also love to see the rejection of a mating bond. But I also don't want Asriel and Elaine together. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, again, if there's okay, so the three mountains. There's Ramiel, which is the one with the blood, right? The prison is another mountain, and then Amarantha, wherever she had like the court of whatever, that's another mountain, and they call them they're sisters. The three mountains are the sisters, and I feel like that
is
something.
Yes.
So like, do like the three brothers get with the three sisters because it's all this like whatever predestined shit? But then why wouldn't the cauldron make Asriel her mate? Why did the cauldron make Lucian her mate?
Agreed.
And I want him to be happy. I also think it'd be cool to see her reject the mating bond and just like see like what that's like
and what happens, and like, can you?
But I don't want him
happy?
to be sad.
I agree.
Like, if she rejects the mating bond, I want her to be sad and him to live a happy life. You know what I mean?
I agree. I'd also just be curious to see again, like you get nothing from Elaine. Like she is a wet noodle, and it's just like.
But so is Azriel, and everybody.
Same.
Okay,
Yes.
so TikTok gave Azriel a personality, and don't get me wrong, he has like a couple funny like little quips. Like, I think Azriel's cute. Like, I'm intrigued by him, but
Yeah.
TikTok gave him a personality that is not in any of
Look,
the 3 books or the novella. Like,
I agree.
there's nothing there.
For literally one page, Elaine gets a spine. It's on page 232 because she's offering to go find. Is it the mask?
Mm-hmm.
So she was like, Elaine said, then I will find it. I may require some time, blah, 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 because she's going to reacquaint herself with her powers, which also, like, what are her powers? So, of course, Nesta's like, you're not going to do that. And Elaine goes, why? Shall I tend to my little garden forever? And then tells Nesta also, you can't have it both ways. You cannot resent my decision to lead a small, quiet life when also refusing to let me do anything greater. And then, of course, Nesta becomes a cunt and says, then go off on adventures, go drink and fuck strangers, but stay away from the cauldron. And Feyre steps in saying, like, it's Elaine's choice. And then Elaine also states she's not a child to be fought over. And the one thing I couldn't stand with Nesta is, like, she's very, like, you picked Feyre. Like, it's not...
I have that written down. Like,
I can't stand that shit. Like, no one picked Feyre. Like, it's not sides here. So
and also, the two of them neglected Feyre, like, until she was abducted by Tamlin. They didn't give a shit about her. Then Nesta's treating Elaine like shit. Feyre obviously isn't, so she's, like, growing closer to Feyre. But then Nesta just, like, thinks that Elaine should just be, like, blindly loyal to her. And again, it's weird that, like, you would be fighting with your sister over becoming close to your other sister.
Agreed. And, like, so Nesta talks about how, like, do you not remember the war? Do you not remember the cauldron, kidnapping, like, all this stuff? And Elaine says, I do. And I remember Feyre rescuing me. So that's when, of course, Nesta... like, whatever. But then she's like, look who decided to grow claws after all. Maybe you'll become interesting at last, Elaine. And then, of course, it lands the blow. Elaine's all upset. But Elaine also says, I went into the cauldron too, you know, and it captured me. And yet somehow all you think of is what my trauma did to you.
Yeah.
So, of course, that's when Nesta turns, like, Feyre to, like, find the trove herself. But, like, so I'm like, okay, so Elaine does have a spine. So I could be really curious to see, like, are you reacquainting yourself with your powers? What are you really like? And what are you going to bring to the table?
And I think, like, you know, in ACOTAR, you don't really get much of Nesta or Elaine. Like, you get more Nesta because she's, like, the stronger personality. But by the time you get more of the sisters, Elaine is going through her own trauma after coming out of the cauldron. So, like, she has no personality because she's kind of, like, she's a shell of a person.
Yeah.
She's the shell of a person at that point, which I think Nesta brings up, like, oh, well, when Elaine was going through it, and they're all like, we let you have a year.
Yeah.
And you've only gotten worse. Like, Elaine pulled herself out of it, and she wasn't harming anybody.
No.
Or she wasn't harming her. Like,
yeah.
And she wasn't eating at first, which, they, you know, that was obviously an issue, but they ended up getting her to eat. So, like, if she was just, like, introverted, she wasn't harming herself. But yeah, I'm like struggling. I still struggle a lot with, like, it's funny because I read these books before I was on Book Talk. So my, like, original rating of the book was 4 stars. Like, looking back, this is like a 5-star book. I've saw 4 stars because I didn't. I think, like, when I was rating it, I was like, oh, I just don't like Nesta. 4 stars.
Agreed.
But
agree. I'm glad we did do the reread because I think it really did. Again, I still don't like her per se. I'm kind of, like, almost indifferent. Like, she wouldn't be someone I'd be friends with.
No.
There's just, like, a couple of things that like the picking the sides thing. I can't, like, that would grind my gears. And then the fact that she's such a hypocrite at times.
Yeah.
Like, I get it when she first is going to train. It's so funny because, like, I don't sleep all through the night anymore because my womb child keeps me up. So, like, I have notes and, like, here, notes on my phone and then notes in the book because it's whatever's next to the bedside.
Yeah.
But when she's first training, I understand why she doesn't want to train in front of the other people because she doesn't need their remarks. And, like, I'm with her on that. Like, I don't need your snide ass, snarky, fucking cunty remarks being made at me.
Especially with those disgusting men. Like, yes, exactly. I wouldn't train in front of them either.
I wouldn't either. But I think like there, but it's just like the communication. Like you don't need to say anything to Cassie right then and there. Like you don't need to make it a point to do anything. But did you need to be a hypocrite and a fucking asshole to him during it? No.
No.
I think if like you maybe discussed with him like, hey, can we just like talk about this at a later time? Like he might have been like, what's up? Like maybe there's something going on. Like he would have walked away and left it alone.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're like rational thinking people. She was very much not thinking rationally,
and she's in a trauma state. So like, yeah, like we're in two
like
totally
again,
different
like, and
brain
again,
waves.
this is probably just me being like a cunt, like Nesta was. But like she hated her father,
Yes,
hated him. Keeps saying like I didn't deserve him. I didn't deserve his love, and like I don't know. Like I'm sorry. Again, I don't. Again, people deal with trauma differently. But like her dad dies defending her. She hated him. Like she was like he was a horrible father. But like his last act was like one of like love, whatever. And she like dwells on this like negative, like all this like negative with him. Where like I don't know. My dad and I had a great relationship when he passed, and like no trauma. Like maybe it's because they had bad I'm just like get over it. You didn't even care about him. Move on.
no, and I'm kind of with you on that.
Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, and like when they go to the mountain too, after she like lands the blow with Feyre, tells her about like how the baby's gonna kill her. That's when I think it really like that was her rock bottom moment to me when she goes to that mountain with Cassian to go on their hike, and she's not drinking and she's not eating, and like she'd rather like she has these thoughts where like, what if I just throw myself off the cliff? Like you hit rock bottom. But the first thing she says when he kind of finally like breaks that through those like layers and gets to talk is the fact that she's so upset with herself about how she treated her father and her thoughts for her father. And again, like I understand because like you spend so much time on all this bottled up hate, and then he does one selfless act, which in reality, like, okay, could that father have done a bit more? Absolutely. But she doesn't.
Yeah, like he's not a good parent.
No,
he loved them, like,
loved them.
but he was a bad parent.
Agreed. Like, and I think she tries to like speak to like, okay, like he did bring the bed from the house so we can sleep in it, and like he could have slept in it, but he didn't. But he let his girls sleep in it. But like, that's the I don't know. Like, and again, maybe someone come after me if you want to, but like, I don't think my first thought maybe it would be, but because I would feel so guilty about how I treated him. But what about like the people that are also like living? Like, and I get that you can make amends with like those who have a life, whereas like you're not making amends with your father who's dead. But like that was the first thing you thought of was like how you were treating your father the whole time. Like it's because like you hated him so fucking much.
Yeah, like she would have rather let her sister starve to death to spite him.
Yeah.
Than like so that's why I'm just like, why are we dwelling like I don't know. Again, I'm very weird. Like, I don't cry when people die. Like, I'm very, like, removed from things. Like, I know that I'm, like, that's my own way to process things like that. And, like, her way of processing is obviously very different. But, like, her, like, she, like, loves Elaine. Like, she's, like, basically, like, a mother to Elaine. Like, Elaine is, like, her baby, essentially.
Yes.
That's how she treats her. And instead of like, you know, checking in on Elaine and like trying to be there to support her sister, because her sister is visibly upset that the father is dead. Elaine always loved her father, even though he wasn't a great parent. She just starts treating Elaine like shit. So like kicking her when she's fucking down already.
Yeah. But again, everything that Nesta was doing was supposed to be like, okay. Like I just like I can't
and I know like that you can't compare people's traumas. You can't. Like something like I don't know, like you could say that I've been through a lot or that you've been through a lot. You can't compare them, but like every other character in this book, I feel like has gone through so much like more, and like they've
think of what Cassian, Reese, and Az have gone through over 500 years. Versus
I mean, even
20-something years of life.
Even just what we've read, right? We know that Reese was raped for 50 years by Amarantha. That he was forced to kill people, like in order to protect his family. He was forced to do like atrocious things to protect the people he loves. And he doesn't treat them like shit. Like, I don't have a problem with her, like, going out and drinking and, like, trying to self-medicate and doing all that. I have a problem with the way that she treats the people who care about her the most.
I agree.
Because, like, I just don't think that there's an excuse for it.
No. And again, you're right. Like everyone, like you're not an overthinker. I'm an overthinker. Like I'll be up all night worrying about like a sentence that I said to you to ensure that, and I couldn't like I'll like be like, oh my god, is it an appropriate time to text anybody yet? And it's like 3 a.m. It's like nope, not. But like
Nope.
so you're right. Like you can't compare anybody to anybody, whether it's trauma, how they handle things, regardless. But I'm with you. Like I can't get past the cruelness. Like even in, I think it's
Yeah.
in the third book. Like the way she like treats everyone during is it solstice when like they're giving their gifts or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
like that to me I was like, oh my god, you're a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like like I know you're hurting, but like why, like no.
And then she has Cassian, who's like the sweetest angel man.
But
Like
you're right,
literally.
he gets her.
But no, I love him so much more because he loves her so much and he understands her that he's willing to
do
like
anything,
be like almost like be the battering ram for her. He's like, I
yeah.
will take whatever she throws at me because he cares about her so much and he just wants her, like he wants to be there to support her. But he's like so fucking sweet.
Everyone
Like
needs a Cassian.
honestly, I say it all the time. Like Reese, Hunt, those are like my top two, but Cassian is number 3.
He's a good little egg. It was a good reminder in this book, just like
Yeah,
how much of a
because I
difference
loved
one
him.
person can make in your life.
Yeah, I loved him in the first 3 because I loved his like kind of like cocky attitude and his like banter and like, but like when you like get like the cat, and that's the thing that I feel like, you know, we kind of miss in the first 3 books where you don't get Reese's point of view. You get that like a couple like little chapters right at the end of the books or whatever, but like you get Cassian's like point of view throughout this entire book, and like he is just the cutest, sweetest angel baby. I want to give him a hug. I want to comb his hair, like do face masks with him, rub his feet after a long day, you know, like
Oh my god,
like a little spa day. Me and Cassian sleepover party, like strictly platonic. I just love him so much.
he's a good egg. And
And
I mean,
everyone
and I
calls
will
him
say,
like,
everyone deserves somebody in this world, and like I am glad
yeah,
that there was someone made to understand her and help her,
yes.
because I
Because if
think
that
deep
was
down
me, I
inside,
would,
she's not a bad person. She just was going through a lot of fucking shit.
yeah, like she's a bitch, but she's
Yeah,
not a bad person.
yeah, exactly.
I just like,
Now, off the Nesta train for 7 seconds. Let me see.
wait, hold on. I'm just going to read a Cassian
Okay, you read
quote.
Cassian.
It's early on. He says, it pains me that Nesta has become this. It pains me that she and Feyre are always at each other's throats. It pains me that Feyre hurts over it. And I know Nesta does too. It pains me that I really, and then he like, kind of like, he drums his fingers on the tables. He doesn't want to talk about it anymore. Moore's like, okay, like we don't have to, but like, he's so hurt by her being hurt. And then like, he also like loves Feyre so much. Like that's his high lady, but that's like his friend. Like Cassian and Feyre are very close. They become very close in Akamath when he's like helping her train. So like he's like kind of like the glue that's like holding like them
Everyone
all together at this point. Like he's the in between person. He's protecting Nesta from herself, basically. He's like, you know, trying to be like the buffer with like Feyre and Reese because he's just everything in this book. I'm sorry. Like
I also like how he balances his love for Nesta as showing her that he loves her, but also like, hey, I get that you're hurting and you're pissed at everyone, but like, don't disrespect Reese or Feyre. Like, you can't do that. Like, and I liked that because it's like,
he's holding her accountable for her actions.
Yeah, which I think like they try to, and sometimes it takes that one person. Like sometimes it's not the sister. Like I can tell my sister something till I'm blue in the face, and she won't hear. But maybe if you tell her, she'll be like, "Oh shit!" Like T's right. Like I gotta listen to. Like sometimes it just takes like different people coming after you.
Yeah.
So I like that he does that for her because it's true. You can't be like that.
No.
Or get away with it.
Also, what makes him so cute is he has allergies and he just does not do well in the spring court. And I loved watching him like try to be like all like suave like Reese. Like he's like trying to be like a, you know, like like a lord. And like everyone's like, oh, Cassie's just not very good at it. But Reese is like, you could do it. Like so Reese, cute. Azriel, and Cassian are just like the cutest like little like friend group. I fucking love them. I want Sarah, if you're listening, a 50. huh? I don't think you're gonna. It's gonna pick up. But
I
Tom
hope
is
so.
going. He's playing video games in the
He's
other
playing
room.
Call
I
of
can
Duty
hear
right
him.
now.
I would love if Sarah wrote like a 50-page like novella of just like them after the day
Their
after winter
friendship.
solstice. No, like their little snowball fight, and then
fight?
just
Yes!
and then just them hanging out in the cabin like after like drinking and like hanging out together. I would fucking die for that.
She needs to give us that. I need like a Christmas book from her with all of them. Like I need a few.
I mean, the
things.
Christmas book is Frost
That's
and
true.
Starlight.
But
I gotta-
no. I want another one. Like I want I want a whole different one. Okay, so I like tabbed a couple things because I was trying to. We all know I suck at picking up on clues in books.
Okay, wait. Before you say anything,
Okay.
is it going to be a spoiler for the end of what happened at the end of Crescent City 2?
I don't think so.
Is it like a theory about that?
Oh, I guess then I can't talk my theories.
Well, no, we can, but I was just going to do it at the end.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh, okay, then you can talk
You know
about
what?
it.
Let's just wait because you know what? Any of my theories are about what's to come next, and like we know
Well, that's what I'm saying. If it's about like what's going to happen in
I don't think it's
Crescent
about what's
City,
going to
period.
happen, but like connection. So we can hold off.
Okay,
until
hold
the
off,
end.
just in case you haven't read Crescent City, because
We'll tell you when
you
to
should.
pop off.
Because people who are upset about the next ACOTAR book not being her next release have not read Crescent City. So if you're one of those people, read Crescent City, and I promise you will not be upset that it's the next release and that we have to wait for the next ACOTAR book. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just like looking at all my Cassian tabs now. So it's like the first time that I saw that look on your face, you were still human, and I nearly went to my knees before you. Your power is a song, and one I've waited a very, very long time to hear, Nesta. Her power is a song that he's been waiting to hear.
He's an angel.
My husband's never said that to me.
If Tom said that to me, I'd honestly be like, "Are you good?"
If he looked out to me and was like, "Teresa, you're the song that I've been waiting to hear my whole life," I'd say, "Do I need to take you for a drug test?"
Yeah, like you good, bro? Oh, good.
What's the plan, Ness? You tear into the people who love you until they eventually give up and leave you alone? Is that what you want?
I literally
say it. Just
had
fucking
this
say it.
page up.
Yeah. Because that's what I'm saying. He holds her accountable. Like, he's like, all right, I'll deal with you, like, you know, whatever, but what's your end goal?
What's your end goal? And like, okay, if you're gonna come after me and try to knock me down a few pegs, like, then I'm gonna come after you and be like, what are you fucking doing? And I like that too. Like, why does one person get to like slander the other? Like, no, like that's but I guess that's like not that I would ever stoop to someone else's level and hurt them, but I would definitely like, especially if it's like my husband or my sister. Like, if my sister came after me and was like being a dick, I'd be like, "What's your fucking problem? Like, you're just gonna keep doing this to everyone until we all give up." I would do this. I would do the same exact thing. Like, I wouldn't harm her with words. I would. You wouldn't after,
stoop down to her level, but you would be like, "What the fuck are you doing?
What are you doing? Like, you're the issue."
I also like that Cassian is the only one that she can hear it from. Like, agreed. If Feyre were to say that, or Amryn, or anybody but Cassian, she would freak out. But she like is almost like willing to hear him out.
She is always willing to hear. Again, like, everyone needs someone, and like, so, and you know what? I commend that because I feel like a lot of times, like, if Tom ever listens to this, he'll be like, "Oh my god, I fucking said this all the time." Like, there's times like Tom will say something to me, and I'm like, "Nah, no." But then like you'll say something to me, and I'm like, "Oh fuck, she's right." Yeah. And he's like, "Are you shitting me? I just said that." But like sometimes it takes like someone saying something, but I feel like sometimes you don't want to hear it from like your spouse or like in this case your mate. Like, you need to sometimes hear from an outside source. Yeah. But like, I'm glad in her situation that's not the case. I also like that he does say to her, I think this is him. Sometimes this must have been like a late night tab because I'm like all sorts of screwy in here. Apologize to who you feel the need to, but leave those things behind. Like, it's true. Like, apologize if you feel like you need to, but like the past, let's move on. And then forgiveness is not that easy. And then forgiveness is something we grant ourselves also. And I can talk to you until these mountains crumble around us. But if you don't wish to be forgiven, if you don't want to stop feeling this way, it won't happen. And he's right. Like, it's so hard. Like, and again, like, I'm someone who harps. I used to harp terribly until therapy happened. And like we call it the Olini curse. Maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe not for like you, new Olini, because you're married in, but like
Yeah.
for the boys. But like for like my sister and I, we tend to harp on shit. But it's like until you let it go yourself, like you can't sometimes move on. Like you have to move on. So
Yeah.
much easier said than done. FYI.
No, I mean, of course, like, I mean, but I think her biggest thing was that she hated herself more than she hated anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because she didn't forgive herself for things in the past. Like, she kind of harps on the fact, like, I let my little sister go into the woods, like, because I was too stubborn to try to save the family. Like, so I let her do it.
I wanted my dad to do it. Like,
yeah. And, like, I get where she's coming from in that, point too. Like, she's very stubborn. But at the same time, like, I would go out and get my own food and just not give it to him. I'd be like, you go get your own, bitch. But I wouldn't, like, let my sister starve.
agreed. I also kind of speaking back to how Cassian really values Feyre. Like he does say, like really early on, he'd never stop being grateful for it, meaning for the High Lady, mere feet from him, who saved them all from Amarantha's rule, who had returned his brother to him, and they then brought Rhys out of the darkness that lingered. So like, it's just so cute how like he was like so open, and I think all of Rhys's like inner circle friends were very accepting of Feyre from the get-go. But like I think it's nice to get like a glimpse into the mindset of someone, like and how much they truly value her as a human being, well, as a fae.
No, but yeah, like I like love that. I just love recent. I know that like it's not a recent favorite book, but
I
some
love
of those moments, like they're just so cute, and I like love like I know this isn't even like a cute part, but it still like made me smile. Feyre's like, can you show Nesta how to word it herself? Something perhaps with a bit more oomph. And Rhys goes, oomph? Question mark? Like right, like lifting an eyebrow, and she's like, she throws him a death glare and says, we can't all be silver tongued like you. And then it's Rhys winked. Good thing you benefit from it, Feyre darling. And I was just like, oh, I just love him. That's my toxic trait. Like, Nesta's is being mean to the people she loves. Mine is defending Rhys until my very last breath. He could be skinning me alive, and I'd be like, he had his reasons.
Oh my god.
Name one thing Rhys has ever done wrong. Yeah,
nothing
exactly. You can't. Yeah, I covered my eyes. I was like, I can't see it. I can't hear it. I don't want to hear it.
My eyes.
That's like off topic again, but the Rhys is evil like TikToks of people. I'm like, these people have never read these books. Or I'm sorry, if you're a fan of the Rhys is evil whatever theories. No, like you either have no reading comprehension or you've just never read the books, because it would make no sense. Not even because I love him.
Video I saw that like after the series, reading the full series of ACOTAR, the first three books, someone still was like, I don't understand why people don't like Tamlin. I'm like, did we read the same series?
You could want a redemption arc for him.
But
it's very obvious why people don't like him.
Agreed. I do like when she does her apology. I feel like to Amren was so much more grand.
Yes.
Like she falls to one knee and bowed her head. I'm sorry. It was in front of a group of people. Amren was super surprised. She knew others were watching, but she didn't care, meaning Nesta. Mm-hmm. She kept her head lowered and let the words flow from her heart. You gave me kindness and respect and your time, and I treated you like garbage. You told me the truth, and I did not want to hear it. I was jealous and scared and too proud to admit it, but losing your friendship is a loss I can't endure. Now, I love that for them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I still am a little bitter that, like, you really didn't give your sister a grand apology. And again, like, I'm someone who, like, if my sister was trying to give, pour her heart out to me, I'd be like, honestly, please.
That's what I was going to say, though. I feel like if you and Gina got into a fight, like, you would just be like, I'm sorry, and like move on. But like, if you got into a fight with me, I feel like you would apologize a lot harder.
Yeah. You're right.
Because I think like with family, like you don't have to say as much. But like with friends, especially because Amren at that point too was the only person who was like helping her at that point. Like everybody was kind of just like letting her like self-destruct, but Amren was still like, Amren's the one who tells Cassian, keep reaching out your hand, reaching out your hand. So I think she did deserve a very big apology. I also think that Feyre knew that like Nesta was sorry. And like she was
Yeah.
like, and like favorite, I think like was like, I don't need your apology. I forgive you. Like I love you and I
Yeah.
forgive you. You're my sister.
Yeah.
But
She
Amryn,
probably didn't even need like words spoken, even in the mind.
right.
Like, just let's move on and like be good in the future. I also think it's really interesting how like I love the house. Like it reminds me of Beauty and the Beast. Like the house comes to a lot, like comes alive for you.
Yes.
Um, and like Amryn does say to her, like the house sings. I can hear it in the stone. And when I spoke to it and answered, like it gave me a pile of romance novels by the end of it. But you caused this house to come alive, girl. And Nesta's like, I didn't do anything. And she's like, you made the house. When you arrived here, what did you wish for most? And all Nesta wished for was a
It was a
friend.
friend in the
And the house became her friend, which like
but
that like touched my heart for me. I was like, ooh, because it's
but
true.
like
Like that's
yeah,
all she
and it
wanted.
is true that she's like unintentionally like she makes like the charms
Yeah,
and she make like so like she's unintentionally like imbuing this power into things
yeah,
that like she's like either like deeply passionate about or like whatever is going on. So like the house is like and like you know it has that deep dark pit of like
in the
despair
library.
at the
Yeah,
bottom, and Nesta understands it and she goes there and like confronts it on
yeah.
winter solstice. Like that's like the gift or whenever she goes and sees it. But um
Amber even like calls her out. She's like, "Well, where is that darkness now?" Because it was prevalent a lot more in the beginning,
yes,
but obviously it kind of calms down. Like you said, it's been approached.
Nesta like acknowledges it and is like, oh, you're
Yeah,
like me.
yeah. Like you, there's a darkness. Okay. The struggle with that darkness is worth it just to see such things. And like I think that's true too. Like I think sometimes like everyone, like you were saying before, like everyone goes through something. Everyone goes through some kind of trauma. And like what I go through, what is trauma to me might not be trauma to you. And like you
No.
can't judge anyone based on that. But like I had a point. So, I had a point to this. Oh wait, I remember now. But like, I feel like it is important to go through something in life because it kind of makes you see more light and appreciate other things, but also
Mm-hmm.
like how you also react and treat others as well. Like if everything was perfect and sunshine, rainbows, and whatever, like we'd all be fucking cunts in this world because like that's just nothing else. But like sometimes you need to experience a little bit of darkness, whatever you want to call it. That. Um, and yeah, I think it helps you to shape and mold who you become.
Yeah. I liked the plot a lot, like the training, obviously, I thought like was just like so fun. Um, and again, like, because at first I was like, oh, like, what are they training for? Like 3 weeks? It's like literally almost a year.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's like 10 months or something because Faye was pregnant, I think, for like, she
10
has maybe a
months.
little
Well, she's
bit
supposed to be too.
early.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's like, I think that it's at least like 9 months that like they're training. Or that Nesta's training. I don't know like when Gwen and Emery like start training, if it's like a few weeks or a few months like later. But Nesta obviously started from scratch and they had like a little bit more um to them. But the whole like like dread trove is like very cool, and like how it's all very like ancient and everything is like 10,000, 15,000. Like no one knows where they came from. No one knows like there's so
Anything.
many like little like sprinklings for whatever's to come in the future. But um like that part I love, but what I kind of like hated was the blood right. Like these
I'm
men
so glad you
train
said
like
this.
they train for 7 years,
Yeah.
and then like and it's intense. It's like every day they're training. Only like what, like 9 people have
I
made it
think
to
it's
the
a very small
top.
number. Yeah.
A very small number make it to the top, and these like 3 girls, 2 of them are practically dead after training for less than a year, make it.
Yeah. I don't buy it.
Like, I love the Valkyrie thing. I don't think that they needed to win the blood right. Like, I just don't think that that needed to happen because I feel like it like detracts from the blood. I don't know. Like, I just was so unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
And like,
Because
I'm
again, it's
all
set up to be so hard because of how many people have only been able to make it to the top.
right. And like, I mean, I am all about like women empowerment. Women
Fuck
can
yeah.
do anything that men can do, and
Absolutely.
most of the time better. But in this
Yes.
scenario, they were not well trained enough. They like didn't, again, Nessa's running around in boots of a man, so like they're probably like 4 sizes too big, and she's like carrying Gwen through the snow, who's like bleeding out and dying. Emery's like half dead.
I feel like it also just makes it seem, and again, because I think we're both very much on the same page with like female empowerment. but you're basically saying the three of them are comparable to Reese and
And they're
Cassian, which
not.
I don't think that's the case. Are they like getting up there, and will they be eventually become like these amazing
Yeah,
warriors?
with
Fuck
more
yes.
training, of course.
But not with 9 months of training.
Not with 9 months of training. Not like, I'm just sorry. Like, no. And like the
I
men,
agree.
the men that they're up against, like, yes, like they're arrogant, and like arrogance will get you killed.
Yes. When you
But
think
like
you're better than everyone
these
else,
men
yes.
have been trained every single day of their lives, probably since they were like fucking out of the womb.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like I love the Valkyrie thing so much that like I feel like them like doing the blood right like detracts from the Valkyrie thing.
I agree.
Like they're Valkyries, they don't need to do the blood right. Like fuck the blood right.
I was like almost dreading that part because I was enjoying the plot so much more this time.
Yeah.
And again, like for someone who's like, I'm not like in love with Nesta, but like I really did enjoy reading and like trying to open my eyes a bit more to like understand everything.
Yeah.
I will say I did kind of like pick up a few of the like Az and Gwen like little moments here and there. I'm very kind of like intrigued as to where that goes as well. Like if there's anything there, which I know like some people want there.
So this
to be
isn't
something.
a spoiler, but did you ever read the bonus chapter? It was like the Barnes & Noble bonus chapter in the hardcover.
I don't believe so.
So it's like winter solstice, it's nighttime, and Azriel and Elaine are in the house, and he gives her a gift, and it's a necklace. And Reese like sees this like whole like exchange happening. Lucian's in the house for winter solstice, and Reese like is like, bro, like what the fuck are you doing? Like, she has a mate. He's literally in this house. Azriel's like, I deserve her because like you got a sister, and Cassian gets a sister. Like, why don't I get a sister? And I mean, like, Reese is kind of a dick about it, but Reese also had to watch his mate almost marry another man. So he's like, you saw what that did to me. Why are you like pursuing a woman?
Now that you're saying this, I know it. I just don't think I ever read it.
Yeah, I think I've talked about this before.
Yeah.
So then he takes that necklace that he was giving to Elaine, and he gives it to Gwen.
That's right. Okay.
And that really pisses me off.
I agree. I'd be fucking pissed if I ever found out Tom gave a necklace I was supposed to like go to some other girl and me. I'd be like, what the fuck?
And also, if I'm like Elaine and then I see the necklace that he gave me on some other girl, I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, like, what is that? Yeah, like I'm just like I'm curious about both, and
I love the thought of like the love triangle. It just makes so much more sense for it to be him and Gwen. Like he saved her from like the temple when it was being attacked. She sings. He's mentioned to be like a singer. Like I don't know. I think it'll end up being that way. And he's just like looking. Curious. He's like, I think he's like looking at Elaine like for more because his brothers have the sisters, and he's like, well, then Elaine must be mine.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes.
I'd be very curious.
Yeah. Also, it's brought up a few times, the whole like High King. Amren like is really pushing Reese. She's like, you have the Dread Trove, you have these swords, like this is like all like foreshadowing. This is like happened in the past. The last time there was a High King, this happened. Like you're in possession. This isn't a coincidence. And he's like, no. And I love that he's like very adamantly against it. But I just am like wondering where that's going to go.
Yeah. And again, because of how old Amren is, I'm like, she must know something. Like you might need to do this.
He is always said that he's like the most powerful High Lord of all time. Sarah J Maas herself has said that he is the most powerful character that she's ever written. He's more powerful than Aelin when she's at her full power. He's more powerful than Bryce, Hunt, Feyre, fucking Nesta with all of her fucking crazy powers. He's more powerful than Amber when she was at her fullest power, and we don't know what she is. Like, SJ was like, he's the most powerful character I've ever written. So, like, who is he? Where's he from? Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, like, and now he really does, like, what? They have the two swords, the dagger, which they give to Eris, which I'm so intrigued by Eris. I need to know more about Eris. Eris is going to be daddy in the next book. I just know it. Because, like, he's not.
He left. There is more to this story.
There is more. Again, to the story. Yeah. And I think she knows more than she's letting on, too. Like,
1,000,000%. Again, she's dealing with her own trauma, so
500-year-old trauma.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, like he's not. He to me, like he reminds me almost of like Reese. Like when Reese was under Amarantha's rule, he had to do things that he didn't want to do, and to protect himself and to protect the people that he like loved or whatever. And I think that's like where Eris is at with his dad. Like, he's under the, like, I mean, he's a child. I mean, he was raised by this man. So as a child growing up, he had to do whatever his father wanted. Now he's not strong enough yet to overpower him.
No.
So he's still like kind of like under his thumb.
He reminds me of Rune. Sorry,
yeah.
Ruin.
It's alluded to that he's like abused by his father. He's like tortured by his father.
Yeah.
For like information still and stuff. So I just know that there's
something more.
There's gonna be more, and it's like he's not as bad as we think he is. He's a cute little boy, maybe.
There's something else going on.
Yeah.
All right. Can we talk about my little tabs?
Yes. Okay. So if you have not read the Crescent City series, I would suggest that you log off now.
We thank you for listening.
Because spoilers and like maybe you don't know why that makes sense, why there'd be Crescent City spoilers in ACOTAR. Go read Crescent City and you'll understand. But we are going to discuss, I guess, some potential theories.
Yes. Starting on page 84.
Mine starts on page, wait, hold on, before you get to page 84. Mine literally starts on page 3.
Okay, then you go first.
It's the cauldron struggled like a bird under a cat's paw. She refused to relent. Everything it had stolen from her from Elaine, she would take from it. Wrapped in black eternity, Nesta and the cauldron twined, burning through the darkness like a newborn star. And the Asteri are stars, right? That's what they're like. Yeah. And like Bryce is starborn. So I just marked it. I was like a newborn star. Like,
yeah.
This is something.
Anything that like hinted, even if it was like so fucking off the rocker, I was like, I'm marking this down.
Same. I'm like literally they'd be like, oh, like she used a toilet. I'm like, Bryce uses a toilet.
Do you have anything between that page and 84?
I don't know. So just go. I'll just, yeah.
I just was like trying to pick up on some things and like they bring up Vasa, like her cobalt jacket, a sharp contrast to the red gold of her hair.
Yeah.
The gold hue of her skin. Like when I feel like things get descriptive like this, I'm like, well, why are we getting descriptive?
Yeah.
So like the golden hue of her skin, the large up tilted blue eyes framed by dark lashes and brows, the silken red hair, a queen by night and firebird by day, sold by her fellow human queens to a sorcerer lord who enchanted her. Yep. Damned her into transforming each dawn into a bird of fire and ash. And again, like, it probably isn't, but my first thought was like, oh, that's weird, because like Jezebel, Mrs. Sorceress, who turns all of her like people into animals, like, is there something there? Because I'd be very curious.
And like also like her hair, I don't know, every time I like
the hair,
the red hair, I'm always like, are they all related to Bryce? Like, what is happening here?
And when it gets like descriptive like that, like what, like you could just say red hair. Like, you got into like the finer details of what color the red is.
Yes. I know. Because I was marking everything blue, like things I liked in the book and like plot stuff, and then I was like, no, I need like a second color. So I started marking some things purple. But they like talk about, okay, so the winged horses are so rare that it was Hillian's 7 breeding pairs of flying horses. Hold on, Lore held that there had once been far more of them before recorded history, and that most had just vanished, as if they'd been devoured by the sky itself. The population had dwindled further, whatever. But like, the fact that the sky, like I think that like these like what are they, Pegasuses, I guess, were like sucked through a portal.
Weird.
Like, there were so many of them, and they vanished as if devoured by the sky.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think I have it tabbed, but they talk about, you know what, I'm going to wait to see if I have it tabbed. But it's about the beasts. So when they go to the prison, and Nesta, I do have it tabbed, actually, but we'll get there in a minute. But when they go to the prison and Lanthus, or whatever the guy in the prison's name is, the beasts, like when he shows her the vision of the two of them sitting on the throne, and there's the beasts in front of them, and she's like, those are the beasts that are carved into the hewn city. Yes. And it's, but what does it mean?
What does it mean?
But okay, wait, on page 443, how does this start? Oh, Nesta hammered the blades, all 3. First the sword, then the dagger, then the great sword. And then whatever, blah, blah, blah. Azrael goes, someone please explain. So Cassian forced himself to sit so perfectly still as Reese dragged a hand through his black hair. And he says, once, the High Fae were more elemental, more given to reading the stars and crafting masterpieces of art and jewelry and weaponry. Their gifts were rawer, sorry, that's like the New Jersey
We all
me,
can't talk today.
more connected to nature, and they can imbue objects with that power. No one has been able to create a magic sword in more than 10,000 years. The last one made, the Great Blade of Gwydion, vanished around that time to the last... vanished around the time the last of the trove went missing. Is Gwydion the Star Sword?
Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting to find out.
The sister sword to like Truth Teller, right? Like, where's this sword?
Agreed.
Bryce has it.
Bryce has it. You sent this, and ironically, like, it's something that I had tabbed as well. And it's about Meryl's research, and that she's obsessed with theories regarding the existence of different realms and different worlds living on top of each other without even knowing it. Whether this is merely one existence, our existence, or it might be possible for worlds to overlap, occupying the same space but separated by time, and a whole bunch of other things I can't even begin to explain. Some philosophers believe there are 11 worlds like that, and some believe there are as many as 26, the last one being time itself.
Yep.
Little weird.
And I mean, again, Throne of Glass spoiler, if you haven't read Kingdom of Ash, give me 30 seconds. But when Aelin is falling through the 7 different, like, levels, whatever, we know one of them is Prithian, and we know one of them is Midgard. And we know that Rhys helps her. He goes, I don't know what's going on there. And he like kind of slows her down so she doesn't die. This isn't so much a theory. I think that it's just, what's the right word? Like, oh my God, I'm so stupid right now. Like a mirror, not a mirror image, but like, this reminded me of the 13.
Okay.
Going to die. So Cassian's talking about the Valkyries. And he goes, I fought besides the Valkyries for 5 battles, but that stopped at the Battle of Mjolnir Pass, when most of them died to save it. The Valkyries knew it was a suicide mission from the start. But, like, it just reminded me, like, they all, like, are, like, defending this, like, one thing. Mm-hmm. And, like, they know that they're going to die defending it, but they go to defend it anyway. And I was just like, that's the 13.
That's the 13.
But, like, maybe the 13 were, like, their own, like, versions of Valkyrie.
Maybe. That's not so far-fetched.
They call them witches. Every woman with a lot of power, they call a witch.
Yeah. Maybe we should get the number 13 tattooed on us, because it also symbolizes Taylor Swift. That's a different conversation. Hewn City is brought up a few times.
A lot. Like, more, I feel like, in this book than in the other books, which is, like, more, like, relevant in, like, Akamath and Akawar.
I agree. So... whatever, that brought them to like the Reese's residence atop of Hewn City, blah, 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 blah. 2 males were similar looking in the way that people from individual courts tend to share characteristics. The Autumn Court, skewed towards hair of varying shades of red, brown or golden eyes, sometimes green and mostly pale skin. The male on the left had auburn hair that was browner. The hair of the one on the right shone like bright copper. So again, like all this fucking red hair.
Everybody has red hair. And if you think about it, the Autumn King in Crescent City is a redhead.
Yes. I don't know if his is copper. I can't remember.
I don't remember like the exact hue.
Same.
But still, they call him the Autumn King. Why?
And again, the Autumn Court. So like, what are we doing here?
I mean, I do think that Azrael and Bryce and Rune are descendants of the Dusk Court. Mm-hmm. Which isn't brought up at all in this. I know it's brought up in, like, I think it's Akawar that the Dusk Court's brought up. Maybe Akamath.
Okay.
But I was like looking for it. I was like, is there any mention of the Dusk Court in this book? And I don't remember seeing anything.
I also think it was really... So with the Kelpie in this book. And again, is it Therian from Sky and Breath? Mm-hmm. Who lives in the water?
Yeah, it's Therian.
Okay.
He's like part merman.
Yeah, so like, and again, I was grasping at straws anytime I was like, why are we getting descriptive? Like the most ancient fae and humans believed Kelpies to be river or lake gods, though I always wondered if the sacrifices started as a way to prevent the Kelpies from hunting them, kept them fed and happy, controlled the deaths, and they wouldn't crawl out of the water to snatch the children. It's like very far-fetched, but I'm like, do we have like a tie of some sort here as well? Like, why are we so, for a few pages, so hooked on learning about the Kelpies? And who
Yes,
they
a
were.
long time. I mean, it could be a Tharian thing, or it could just be they like harp a lot on like things from the past,
Yeah.
and like this area, which is I think they call like the middle. That's where like the Weaver was, and that's where like they're like, oh, it doesn't like abide by like the regular laws of Prithian. Nobody really like rules over the middle. Like it's where like all these like ancient creatures kind of like went or like live. So like it's something, obviously. So when Nesta gets the arch, it starts singing to her and it says, "We shall open doors and pathways, we shall move through space and eons together. Our music will free us from earthly rules and borders." So like they're obviously going to use the harp in CC3, and that's how they're going to like move between whatever. I know it's a blue tab and I have a lot of them, so I'm not going to keep looking. But there is like mention of a cat a few times, and I think that I think that it's Nesta describing the when she's in the library how like the darkness like feels like a cat like watching her or something, and that I'm like the Princess of Hell. Like, is that another? I don't know, we'll see. I know, really, I'm like having too much fun now with my purple tabs. And how there's so the Dread Trove is the three objects: the mask, the harp, and the crown. And it was like shielded from everyone's memories. Like that was like what's the word?
Like blocked.
Right, but it was like the curse. Like you like nobody like remembered it, but once you heard about it, then you knew what it was.
Yeah.
So when like Lanthus or whatever his name is showing Nesta like what they could be. A fourth object lays on the altar, veiled in shadow. She couldn't make out more than a gleam of age-worn bone. So there's a fourth something. And like she brings it up to Amryn and Rhys, and Rhys is like, I don't know, but it's probably veiled the same way that the trove is from our memories. But what is it? And it's bone. There's got to be something. I can't wait to do my Crescent City reread. Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of helping right now because I'm in the middle of Sky and Breath.
Yeah. Another thing. The Fae were not the first masters of this world. According to our oldest legends, most now forgotten, we were created by beings who were near gods and monsters. The Daglin. They ruled for millennia and enslaved us and the humans. They were petty and cruel and drank the magic of our land like wine. That's the fucking Asteri. They were just called something else. That's on page 554. If anybody cares, there's more. Like it goes on like for like a few pages, but
this is the one thing that sucks when you do a reread with an audiobook, because I really tried to like stop and tab, but there was just some times where I was like in the car and it's like I was trying to write some things down, but then you just kind of forget, because I do remember thinking like there's a lot of clues in this book.
Yeah, no, there are a lot. This is about the mountains, what I was saying before. So it's Eris who's explaining it. And Nesta asks, like, why is it sacred to you? And he goes, there are three of them, sister peaks. This one, the mountain called the prison, and the Illyrian brutes called Ramiel. All bald, barren mountains at odds with those around them. So he's talking about where Amarantha ruled, the prison, and then Ramiel. And then he says, we don't know why they exist, but do you not find it strange that two of the three have underground palaces carved into them? And then he's like, I hardly call the prison a palace. And he says, unsurprisingly, the Illyrians were never curious enough to see what secrets lie beneath Ramiel. So there's definitely shit under the Bloodright Mountain.
Yeah.
But what is it? And are we ever going to find
curious?
I'm so fucking curious. Yeah, right? Like, why has nobody checked?
Yeah, I would go look.
And like, now that he brought it up, Cassian, go check that.
What are you doing? Yeah. You got some free time.
And then the last thing, at the end, when Nesta is like I'll give you back your power, whatever,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And then the mother. So she seemed to have some sort of connection or understanding with the mother. And then it's just like italicized the mother. But then it like goes back to like, okay, like she smooths her brow. She's like, we'll deal with all of this later or whatever. But it's like mentioned just like quickly.
Yes. But again, like italicized, like bringing like attention to it.
Yes. I know.
Oh, Sarah, what are you doing to us, girl?
She's trying to kill us.
She is.
And we're trying to kill all you guys with our hour and 10, 15-minute long podcast episode today. But like, okay, overall, my thoughts. And then you can say yours, and then we can like, I guess, let everybody go. But overall, originally I gave it a 4. I'm bumping it up to a 5. Overall, my opinion on Nesta has changed. I do like her. I'm like excited to like see her again in other books. I just don't ever need a POV from her again. I will say that I like her more now than I did after my first read through. Cassian will always remain daddy. Azriel and Elaine are still vanilla AF. Reese and Feyre will always reign supreme. I don't really care about Amryn either way. And Crescent City 3, January 31st, 2024.
Can't come soon enough.
Can't come soon enough.
I will agree. I'm very happy we did a reread. I'm happy that we were able to hear other people's thoughts and some explanations in regards to Nesta, that we got to do this again, because I agree with you. I really enjoyed this book this round a hell of a lot more than I did round 1.
Yes.
Call me stubborn. I was definitely just more of like, fuck you. Like, I can't stand you. But now I'm like, okay, get off your fucking high horse, Katie. Like, you can understand this a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I definitely liked her a little bit more this round. I definitely wouldn't use the word hate. I wouldn't even say I like dislike her. I think I dislike things that she does, but
yes.
I definitely don't mind her. Like, she's neutral to me.
She's like definitely, more at this point now. She's like more to me. Like I don't care either way.
Just very indifferent to you.
She's fine.
She's fine. Yeah. You're right. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing her in future books, and I'm excited for it, but I don't need her POV. Cassian, you can still give me his. I am in full support of the Rhaera. The Feyre and Reese supremacy. Elaine and Azriel are very vanilla, and I do agree that TikTok gave Azriel personality, because he's just dark and mysterious and has scars all over his hands, so we all want to know more.
I know he's very handsome, so I'm intrigued.
Obviously intrigued, but like, I'm low-key like slightly intrigued by Elaine because of like a moment of a book. Like, you gotta find like there's more to you,
and I know that she didn't give up her power. Like, I want to know like
exactly
what she sees in the future. Like, I need to know.
Agreed. So definitely, I still think this is 1,000,000% a 5-star book. Sarah J Maas can do no wrong in my eyes. And yes, I need CC3 immediately.
I'm glad that we agree. I love when we agree about things.
We do tend to agree more than disagree.
I love when we disagree about things, but yes. I love more when we agree.
I happen to agree with that as well.
So next week we are doing Spilling the Tea, but we are interviewing Morgan Elizabeth, whose new book, actually, it came out today, the 28th. So if you're listening to this tomorrow, you need something new to read, maybe you're in a romance mood or whatever, The Playlist by Morgan Elizabeth. It's like based on like Taylor Swift songs, I guess you could say. It's really cute.
Yeah.
So next week we will be interviewing her. That will release on the 5th. Yes, it's the 5th.
Yep.
The week after, we're doing Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent, which I know everybody's been on my case about, but I was waiting for it to get closer to the release of book 2. Book 2 comes out on the 14th. Anyway, after that, we have Spilling the Tea. Then we are reading our first hockey romance.
Yes, which I cannot believe we have not done a hockey romance on this.
I can't believe I haven't forced it on you guys yet, honestly. I'm either a good person for not forcing it on you, or I'm a terrible person because I've read so many and I haven't forced it on you. But Her Greatest Mistake by Hannah Cowan, I believe is how you pronounce the last name. And then another Spilling the Tea episode. And then we will...
Well, actually, no, that's just the end of April.
Oh, that is just the end of April.
Yeah, we only have 4 Wednesdays next month, but May there's 5.
Yes,
because May, the bonus, we've already decided that the bonus Spilling the Tea episode will be a Crescent City reread.
Yes,
look at us go with our Sarah.
Crescent City 1 and 2, or just Crescent City 1?
I mean, whatever your little heart desires, because I'm about to finish the second book.
I mean, I'll do both. By the end of May, I'll do my official. I'm going to do the audio for those. But yeah, we can do that. We can do them both in May.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Like always, thank you guys for listening. We love you.
You guys are the best.
DM us. Let us know.
Give us like some of your theories that you have. I'd love to hear them.
Oh yes, if you've read all SJM Universe books,
okay.
DM us your theories. We love them.
We do,
and we love you.
We do love you.
Bye.